Hey, how you doing? We're gonna go ahead and look at some of your exercises today, starting off with an overhead press. Um, the rack's kind of in the way for this one, not really your fault though, just a rack issue. Biggest thing I'm noticing here though is you're gonna get a lot more out of your overhead press if you can fix that wrist position. Um, right now, if you just it's just energy leak city. We're just having that really bent position in our overhead press right now, and that's going to be definitely an issue in terms of decreasing the amount of load you're able to handle. So both sides happening to a pretty great degree. Let's definitely try to get that barbell. Let me see. Your setup real quick. Yeah. So it happened there. So similar to squat, kind of happens with the squat and overhead press the most. Sometimes bench press, but usually just squat and overhead press, where people will grab the bar really tightly. And I'll give you a squat example. That's a little more common. Grab the barbell really tightly, get under it, and then let it. And then the barbell rolls back and extends their wrist as they get in position, which is why we always talk about excuse me, at Kabuki strength, grabbing the barbell super lightly at first. That way your arm articulates around it as you get in a position, keep that neutral wrist position, and then squeezing the hell out of it, pressing my scapula and doing so with a beautifully neutral wrist position to help lat engagement and other mechanics. And same thing goes for overhead press right now when you get under it. It's just extending your wrist as you get under it, and we're holding it way the heck up here, causing a lot of deviation here. So it's really focused on getting it low in our palms, squeezing the hell out of it, and making sure that as we get under, we're nice and stacked. Is going to help tremendously with the weight you're able to handle. So what I think I'm going to do for you for the bench press is I think I'm going to go ahead and make you an individualized video talking about some improvements that you can make to really help your setup. Because once we get in a more or a better arch position, better leg drive position, the weight you're able to handle is going to be tremendous. That's been my biggest payout lately in terms of form changes. Obviously, with squat and deadlift, there's so many different things to improve on. With the bench press, there's a little less. It's a little less nuance of a movement. You can definitely say. With that being said, changes or benefits to your position, your starting position, are huge, are really huge. I underestimated them for a number of years until I really put some additional work into seeing what I can do to benefit my starting position. And the second I did, numbers just started ramping up, started going really well for me. Started experiencing less shoulder pain, just a lot of really good things, but a lot of really good signs. So I really want to put some extra work into that moving forward. Right now, it's not tremendously important. You're just getting used to bench pressing on actual bench press setup, which is already a step in the right direction. So, but as we get closer to meet or as we get further down the road, I really want to perfect your starting position, your setup. Also, get really good at self unrack, because it seems like you're lifting by yourself for the most part, and I think that's tremendously important for individuals that bias towards lifting by themselves. So, I'll go ahead and make you a video as soon as I can on that. I just want to talk about a few things and show you how I personally set up a little bit more in depth than what's shown on the effortless unrack video I did recently. As for positives, though, the position on the bottom's gorgeous. Really like your bottom position. If we look very carefully here, I think the wider grip that we went with a while back's really paid off in terms of how stacked you are on the bottom. I'm really happy with this position. Position's beautiful. You'll be able to really grind out some weights and have a good energy transfer with this. It's a damn good looking pin squat here. Really nice job. I like the fact that we're staying on the pins for a second or two. Yeah, really nice there. Looks gorgeous. Barbell floor skull crusher is looking good too. One little piece of advice I'd just kind of throw in there. You'll typically find, unless you have like some anterior delt or some kind of shoulder girdle issue, you'll typically find that if we scrape the top of the head, we kind of keep it really in a fairly stacked, tucked elbow position rather than kind of going here at the last second. You'll find that if we scrape the top of the head and touch there, you actually get a little better contraction for the most part. So go ahead and give that a try. See if it feels any bit better. I knew this one would be a tough one going in. Looking pretty good, though. Can't quite see. Come on. I can't quite tell for sure if we're touching the ground or not, but I will let you know right now. I'm not sure if I missed this in the description or not, but I want to go ahead and get as close as you can to the ground without touching and then pausing for that time length. So, for example, if we could, like a quarter inch off the floor, stop 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, whatever the count is, and produce force from there rather than going all the way to the ground. Otherwise, it's just a close grip floor press. But the Spoto press, I want to go ahead and stop just short of the ground. I can't tell if it's taking place in that video or not. There's kind of some darkness in that area, so I can't see. But it kind of looked like we were going all the way to the ground. So if so, let's go ahead and try to the half inch, quarter inch, as close we can to the ground without actually touching in the future. It's going to be a lot tougher, a lot more rewarding for what we're looking for. So the big thing I want to discuss is going to be that comparison between videos and you're using a deadlift bar and not using a deadlift bar. The biggest thing I'm noticing is that while using a deadlift bar, your position is far more upright. Well, actually, not that much more, but it's pretty big difference when you really look at how it moved. And I went ahead and took a picture on my phone of your starting position or when you started to lift the weight off the ground with this lift, which is right there, a lot more upright, and then compared to your deadlift video at home, your back angle, your shoulders were probably, instead of being up here, or a few inches lower. So you were in a far more advantageous position using a deadlift bar. That's basically all it comes down to. You were hinged over at the start this much at home, this much with a deadlift bar, just in a more advantageous position, more open joint angle. It's going to allow you to deadlift a lot more weight. And realistically, I don't even think you're taking full advantage of it yet. It usually takes a while to really kind of get used to taking every little centimeter out of that decreased range of motion you get and really take advantage of your upper body too. And plus, realistically, your deadlift in terms of shoulder position was actually not the best. It wasn't your best. A few weeks ago, or actually maybe like 6 weeks ago, we realized that was a pretty big issue. Shoulders were way in front. And then you made some slight changes to get your shoulders further back. And the second your shoulders got directly stacked with a bar, weight started moving so much easier, had no sticking points, it was gorgeous. But if we look at this video here, go back to full screen version. Hey. Sorry about that. My pets are running around and they got in a fight, so I had to break up a fight real quick. Anyways, looking back at the video here, the main point I'm trying to make is that your shoulder position was kind of went back on a slight fault we had a few weeks ago that we fixed. 6 weeks ago, shoulders were really far in front. Once we fixed it, felt better, looked better, moved better. Everything was gorgeous. And in this past week of videos, both deadlifts at home and at the gym with the deadlift bar had this issue again. So the point I'm trying to make here is that I think that once you get used to taking every centimeter out of the tension of the barbell and really taking full advantage of the more open joint angles you can get into, on top of getting our shoulders further back like we had corrected a few weeks ago, this is going to be even easier. I really do think that this is going to blow up. This isn't even your fullest capacity right here in terms of your current strength. This video, for example, here you can see shoulders compared to where your hands are. We're kind of doing that fault again. So point I'm trying to get here is that once we get those shoulders back into place, we kind of re-pattern things a little bit to where we correct that fault. And on top of that, you start to take advantage of those extra few centimeters you can get once you kind of dial in the setup through using a deadlift bar. I think you're going to have a lot more weight in you than it feels like right now. And in terms of your at-home deadlift and your deadlift at the gym, both of them had the same fault with the shoulders being a little bit in front. That's why I think it was a little harder than it could have been. It could have been a little bit easier if we would have corrected that in both places. But at the same time, regardless, the at-gym deadlift bar, conventional deadlifts, look gorgeous, look so much easier, so much better. No sticking points, flew right up. And your ones at home with the same weight, it's kind of a grind. Because, again, we didn't quite get those same joint angles. So what I want to do is probably make it so that we can get at least one heavy conventional deadlift day at your gym. I think that'd be really awesome, especially because it sounds like you're going to be using a deadlift bar in competition anyway, so taking advantage of that's going to be a great idea. But also in terms of things I want to improve, I want to also really, really try to fix that again, getting your shoulders a little further back. Doesn't matter if you're deadlifting at home or at the gym, just get your shoulders a little further back and not have that fault anymore, so we can be in a more stacked position, one solid motion up, and then also not have any wasted motion or anything of that nature. So in terms of comparison though, yeah, it's definitely there. It's definitely definitely a pretty big difference in terms of using a deadlift bar and a stiff bar. And it's not necessarily due to a fault. You're just getting a more open joint angles there. Barbell good mornings are looking pretty great. Not a whole lot to note here. My favorite part about this is hinging mechanics have came a really, really far way. That was probably one of the biggest things that I want to work on upon first first seeing your movement. And good morning is not an easy lift to have good hinging mechanics with. Really, hardly anything is. Hinge mechanics are really hard for most people. But at the same time, good mornings is really tough, really, really tough. And yours right now look great. Probably the most impressive part is your hips are continuously traveling back, which is probably the hardest thing to teach and the hardest thing to consistently do in a good morning that needs to be done if you want to get optimal stimulus from it. But your hips are going back beautifully. If we look at this video here, look at this. It looks really, really good. Love the way hips are traveling back continuously throughout the entire movement here. Watch this happens. Back, 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 all the way down to the bottom. Exactly what we'd want to look for. Really good job there. And because it looks so good and it's looking like you're moving the weight fairly easy too, I also want to make a goal of trying to hit some pretty big numbers there. I'd like us to get damn close to, if not at, 300 pounds for working sets. It'd be a really solid goal for you, and I think it's absolutely attainable. So let's definitely set some big goals there and hit some big numbers with the good morning, so it looks great. Sumo deadlift's looking pretty good. There's some additional nuances we can continue to get better at. Mainly the hip external rotation, getting your hips closer, all those things. But realistically, if you're not somebody that is going to be that's going to be your main deadlift style, we probably don't need to put too much focus into it. I'd rather put more focus into your main deadlift style, which can be the conventional. As long as your sumo is safe and you can do so with optimal loads, I'm not too worried about it. And it looks really good, handling good load there as well. 2 count pause, 2 reps, looks really good. Everything's moving as one unit. No wasted motion. Looks great. It would be interesting to see. How you do with a deadlift bar in the sumo deadlift. Typically, in my personal experience, you can take even more tension out and even take more advantage out of the sumo deadlift than conventional deadlift in terms of positional advantages with a deadlift bar. So that would be interesting to find out at some point. And you may even surprise yourself and hit some really big numbers, possibly even better numbers than your conventional deadlift with the sumo deadlift. But we'll go ahead and kind of see that as we go. So let me know what you think about possibly switching days around a little bit further, just so you can get some more deadlift time at the other gym. I don't think it's absolutely needed, but at the same time, it could be beneficial. I feel like your gym situation is going to get a lot better really soon, though, so it may just take care of itself here within the next few weeks. If you have any updates for me in terms of when your gym's doing like complete openings and you won't have to go at these weird times, or when you can go at your normal times, just go ahead and let me know, because that'd be really nice to find out. Hopefully, within the next few weeks, though, you can just start going there whenever the hell you want, like you should be able to. And just getting all your training sessions in there. So let me know if you have any updates there. Let me know if you have any questions. Stay safe.